Power on. Woo, loud noises. Yeah. Okay, that's powering up. While that's doing that, we'll go out here and we'll check these lights. 1, 2. All right. Okay, one's a taxi light, and the other is. So when you turn them off, you want to double check those lights went off. There's a relay that gets stuck on. You want to verify it's off. Ooh, what's this button do? Ooh, big spotlight. Ooh, it went out. Oh. No messages. Yay! Yay, it works. Yay. All right. Go ahead and turn the avionics off. Turn all my lights on. Let's hear a fan. Yeah. All right. That one's on. My DeVore light is on. My auxiliary position light is on. You can't see because it's LED. Huh. Another DeVore light. So you gotta check these and make sure they're mounted. They have a tendency not to be mounted. All right, tail light. Ooh, it's still clean. Wicked. All right. Since we're doing a walk around, go ahead and make sure we got oil, which we need some. And we need O2. All right. Let that happen. Okay. Oh, and when I turn the AC on, I want to make sure this opens. Okay. Okay. Right. Off power. See, these are lights I checked a while ago. You gotta make sure they're off. Cool. Wiggles, just 3 pulls. Okay, I'm gonna put this up. Meow. Well, since we're out cruising around, I'll go ahead and put my oats, put that there. I'll lock that. Rolling, rolling, rolling. No. Jump for the goddamn cord. Man. Locked. Okay, make sure they're locked. Open. Open. Ta-da. Oh, look at there. We're at 1,000. Release my safe dust cap. Now I take my other dust cap off. Oh, it locked in. Yeah. Make sure my blow by is off, my bleed off. All right. Now let's see what we. Oh, 2 new tanks, huh? Oh, not quite. So it's slowly integrating. We just don't want to be above 100, 200 psi in 10 minutes. That's what our bleed rate is. Ooh, it low. A little bit more. There we go. And so the air is coming off of here, going down this little line, all the way down. Going in here. So there. The noise we're hearing is a relief valve behind here. Yeah. Awesome. And while you're in here, you want to make sure there's nothing obviously damaged. Like that. Looks like someone's been goofing around in here a little bit, huh? Alright. Well, while that's doing that, I'm going to go get my ink pen. Looks like I need to sweep my floor. Oh yeah, real bad. Get all my stuff done. Ooh, since I'm walking past it, let's make sure the good expiration date. Oh, it does! Yay! Oh, how's it doing? It's almost there. And what we'll do is, since this is the tank I'm using right here, I'll mark it down. Oh, still have 1,700. Ooh, now she's loud and angry. Yeah. More noises. Me. Well, while that's bleeding down, I'm gonna go and get the coffee. See, they're over there doing their daily songs. Oh no. Uh-oh. No, world needs to stop. That's right, everybody. I put it over here. There it is. Phew. Thought I was gonna die. Coffee, elixir of life. Ooh, how we doing? Yeah. What's over there? It's another 407 way over there. Oh yeah? Let's park next to me. Now when he moves his truck, I'll show it. There's the fuel guy. Go ahead and grab this fin, make sure it's all attached. Yes, it's attached. Awesome. So basically every day I come out here and make sure these little pieces are attached. No cracks here. Yeah, that's scratching because I am impatient sometimes and I just rip stuff apart. You make sure all these nice little screws are in. You look around all these lovely little rivets. Make sure there's no cracks. Oh, what's that? That looks like paint. Yep, paint removal. Rock. And it's time for a new sticker. Danger, danger. And you grab your tail rotor blade. And I'll show you why it's danger. So this shows you the tip path. Oh! So if you see the danger sign, you're in the zone. Alright. Oh, and you see this? That's because I was impatient again and I used the wax on the dirty tail boom. And the wax embeds itself And it shows you all the micro scratches. Sweet. Oh, sounds like that's done. Let's check it out. Ooh, it's even. It's 16. All right. So we take the 16 and we mark it on the tank we're currently using, which is this one. All right. Close it off. Back this off. Just a little bit. There we go. So that way when we open this one up, we're not pushing 2200 psi through the system when it's fully open. What happens there is if you overpressurize this line and get above 1850, right? 1850 being max, that little red valve right there is called a blow-by valve. Move my fingers out of the way so you can see it. It's got a little piece right here on it. I've changed one since I've been here because I was a boob, wasn't paying attention. Oh no! Ah, poop. Damn it. Okay. Well, I guess I'm done. I screwed up. Because no one had actually marked here. I didn't use my low one first. Alright, so I'm going to open this valve up. Why are you opening the valve up? Alright, I'll show you. I'm going to bleed off the line. You have to bleed the line off. This line right here. It will not release. If it's full of pressure, what it's going to do is going to cock and lock itself up. Then you have to go behind here, unloosen here to bleed this section so that you can get it to pop off. But if you did this first, you would have been set. So now a release. Yay! Put your cap back on. Click. Yeah. Go ahead and swirl that back in place. Alright. We got one more O2 fill and then I'll have to change the tank because I was a boob. And it says 16, so sweet. We're equalized. Go ahead and undo the here, disconnect the ground. Here we go. Roll our big mamma jamma away. Back everything off. Here we go. Cruising, cruising, cruising. See, this helicopter's so quiet. Didn't even know it was running. Oh, back over what I was doing. Distractions. You know, when my helicopter's running, you can't even stand near it without hearing protection on. The other day, they landed right beside me to wash off the aircraft. I didn't even know they were there. It was awesome. Just need a small fleet of those. One Bubba in there. All right, back to where I was doing. Man. Excuse me. Excuse me. All right, so we're done with page 1. We did all that. Made sure there's no FADEC lights, no E's on the instruments. So now, good. There we are. And I'm going to crawl up here. I'm going to do all this. We did that. We checked that. Aft. Then we're on the cabin roof. So this part right here is where we open up panels. Like right here, we're going to verify that we have oil. Look, oil. Everyone's going to go, well, look how low it is. Well, triple nickel has a tendency to expand really good. And if they went on a flight, it'd be at the top of the yellow. If I had my oil at the top of the yellow and then they went flying, it would pour out of this tube right here. And that's because the gearbox doesn't want to be over serviced. So it'll like go, nope, I don't want that no more. You gotta spit it all out. That's yuck. Yeah, make sure my wiring is good. Yeah, that's good. And that little doodad right there is a maintenance aid for the air filter. So where's the other filter, you ask? It's right in there. And what it does is do a differential check. On the back side, there's a little J tube in this panel right here. And it will take a measurement of what it feels atmospheric, being the differential pressure from being drawn behind the air filter. And it draws a little maintenance plunger forward. All right, so from here, I'm going to jump to the other side. Why, you ask? Well, because this is where all the cleaning and the really observing of the swash plate comes in. Put the coffee on the ground. Yay. Oh. Put my ladder in place. So we went on a flight yesterday. See, ladder's in place. I'm climbing up. Yay. Oh, look, this little cavity right here. If I look inside, and very far away, it's called hydraulic oil reservoir, right? Says it right there on there. And it holds just a couple pints. There's a little red button at the top. It's kind of protruding outward. If there's any bubbles in that, we need to service it, which is okay. This is why we have to wipe it off. Kind of looks like they hit something, you know, like an elk in mid-flight. What this is the swash plate has a duplex bearing inside it, right here. There's a bearing right here, and this little point right here, I grease every 50 hours or 90 days. Or if it happens to rain profusely, I'll go ahead and lube it again. These two little bad boys right here, which you can't see because my finger just made it focus, those are my hydraulic filters, one in, one out. And what we're looking for here is there's a little bypass buttons on top. It tells me that the filters are dirty or clogged. And if they are, we have to remove, clean, reinstall. But so we do them every 300 hours anyways, so it's just easier to replace them. And we got the wiring harness. This little connector right here is for a tracking balance equipment, and it gets mounted onto this little ring. It's a mag pickup. But right now, just want to make sure it's in this holder, which it is. And while we're at it, I'm going to rotate the blade. I'm looking at my drive shaft and make sure the torque stripe, none of the bolts have moved. If we have any movement on the bolts, then we have to take it apart and replace it and send it in for overhaul. This is called a K-Flex drive shaft. It's way better than the old system. 2 grease points, and then every 100 hours you have to take it apart and grease it. And it had its own special, unique way of doing things. This device down, this is called a corner mount. You have 4 of them. I want to make sure there's top washer is an upstop. It'll be a little loose. This corner mount's elastomeric. It's a rubber laminate. See right there, a little rubber laminate. You want to make sure there's no cracks. And then if there is a crack, you gotta jack it up and make sure there's no cracks all the way through. It's approximately 4 inches thick. There's a grounding strap right here. This one right here. On that, you want to make sure there's no steel braids that are poking out that would get you. The gray thing there is a hydraulic pump. Runs off the oil pump for the transmission, which is on the bottom gear, transmission gearbox. There's a little shaft in there. You have to take out every 300 hours. Clean. It's not too bad. When summer hits, this grease is actually going to look like it's blood. It'll start to run. And a lot of the people go, whoa, what hydraulic oil's up here? There isn't any. So then we follow the pitch link up. It's got a torque stripe right there. And a torque stripe right there. And the reason for that is to make sure that this insert hasn't twisted off of here. So we want to make sure that that one and that one hasn't broken free or missing. If it's missing, you have to go through a procedure to reinstall. So there was 2 of us that did this one last time. Apparently he didn't like the way I did it, so he did some more. And he did some more. Every 300 hours, you're going to be cleaning that off and visually looking at it with a 10 by magnifying glass. And don't look at the lower cone, it's a mess. So in the Bell products, you want to rotate your blades backwards as often as you can. What that does is engages the engine. It helps clean the tip path for the turbine blades. Also makes it easier for it to start. So this is the cheapest part on the helicopter. Okay, it's $28. But about 12 hours of labor to change it out. Okay, you gotta take the mast nut off, which is up here. Yeah, the one thing that has a hole in it, it's called a mast nut. Squeezes the head onto the mast. This is the mast. This is the lower cone. This is a lower cone bearing, and it sits right here. There's a bearing face here, so they all sandwich together. This has a gap, and we torque them in a very specific sequence. Normally you see the numbers on there, but this time I didn't put them on. All right, so when you're looking at the head, you want to look at, this is called a shear bearing. You want to make sure there's no gaps. If there's any gaps in there, you might as well go ahead and start ordering all that up and replacing it. This one has a gap limit of, I think it's a 0.005, 3/4 of an inch deep. You can track it out, but your track won't last very long. So it's just easier to go ahead, schedule yourself up and overhaul your head, changing out these bearings here and this bearing here at the same time. This is a yoke right here, and what we're looking for here is any deformities. It's fiberglass laminate, so it's like 7,342 layers of fiberglass. It makes a clover leaf if you were to look at it when it's not attached to the main, your lower plate, your upper plate. Pitch horn goes here, connects to your grip, which then connects to here. And you got two little pins, one here, one here. And then they have a pin stop, keep them from rotating, while you're in there. So grease makes the aircraft fly. Grease is what kills all your last minute rubber. So you want to wipe all that off every day. Same thing goes for your corner mounts. Anything that has rubber on it. Grease is your friend, grease is your enemy. There's the main rotor head. Let me go get a rag. I'm gonna wipe that off. Meow. What time is it? Right. I don't know why it's focusing on that antenna. It's for my Wi-Fi. Now there's a master compass in here. I got to do a swing. And what that does is gives me a deviation on my compass with all my avionics turned on, which is huge. I've tried to adjust it, but I get it close. Make a little card. It says deviation card. And what it will do is it tells the pilots that with all the avionics on, there's going to be a deviation from the magnetic compass. But if that happens and they're relying on that magnetic compass, they're already looking for a place to land. That means we had a total system failure. I'm going to go up here and wipe this off now. Here we go. Wipey wipey. So there's two different types of grease on the main rotor head. Well, it depends on the part number of these. Dash 105s, there's a part number listed right here. Dash 105s have Mobile 28 Aviation Synthetic. Oh, I'm sorry, scratch that. Fixo grease, Aviation Synthetic. I apologize. The grease swings out. You kind of don't want the Fixo to sit on your main rotor head because it's a bear to get off if you let it sit for long. And we're wipey. Wipe over here. See right in there? Oh yeah. All right. Wipe that area, get that horn. Rotate it. Always in the reverse direction of travel. See, this is the leading edge, nice little round thick piece. And then thin piece back here, super thin piece, that's the trailing edge. So you want to turn your main rotor blades in that direction. Like I said, it engages what's called a freewheeling unit inside of the engine gearbox. It allows the turbine to rotate to clean the tip path. You don't want to get hog wild, you know, sit up here and crank with no oil being flown across the bearings. It's the reason why when it's windy outside, you want to tie it down. So the red stuff is Mobile 28. And the duplex bearing takes Mobile 28. At this present moment, hey, you never know. Oil, grease changes, oil changes. But yeah, you want to make sure that you want to get hung up in your cotter pins. There's a safety there, safety here, safety there. There is no safety on the bottom jam nut. Okay, just on the upper one on the valve products. I know someone's going to ask, well, why? Well, I like to say it just make it easier for us to do our track and balance, but I really don't know why. So the book tells me what to do, that's what I do. So wipe up in there, wipe off of here. See a little paint missing? I'm gonna have to go and get some white paint, touch that up, so that way it's not exposed to the sun. Grease off, wipe the grease off, wipe the grease off. And this way you can also see if you've struck any birds. You want to visually, because you know if they struck a bird and it was large enough for them to hear, that's a big bird. So you want to make sure that the pitch links aren't damaged. There's no deviation in the yoke, and none of the grips have damage. And one of the companies I worked at prior to here used to have an eagle that was nesting and would attack the helicopters because it was making noise. Sometimes they won. So yeah, that's how often I've wiped this one down. I'm down to the primer. Follow your pitch link all the way down. Wipe, wipe, wipe. All right, let's see if they'll focus in on it. All right, see. See right in here, it's called eraser look. That is the bearing starting to fray, and we're allowed a gap. Like I said earlier, a little gap. And what we're looking for is make sure there's no rust color coming from there. That means that we're on metal, and the gap is huge. Look at that shear bearing, and I didn't tell you that this one here is called a feathering bearing. This blue one here is called a lead lag. So at the tip, your blade can go this way, forward or aft, and that will take that out of it. Rotating. These are drive links. That one down there is called an anti-drive link. So that makes this stationary part stay stationary. This one keeps this one rotating with the mast. You'll have play. Just don't want to make sure it's not a huge amount of play. There's little phenolic pads underneath the bolt heads on both sides through the bolt. Safety, safety. What we're doing here is just making sure that the pad hasn't worn beyond its limits. It makes a heck of a noise. Also very hard to keep the aircraft track sometimes. Not always. You can track out almost everything, almost all your vibrations. What am I doing here, you ask? Well, I'm wiping down my intake on the inside. Get rid of all that evidence of grease leakage. Wipe off the grease up here. Grease goes everywhere. I call it my corrosion preventative program. Yep, safety, safety, check, check, check. So you'll notice that on these are black. Well, it's a chemical that we put on them to keep the corrosion down. But I live in the desert, so it's kind of not needed. If I lived on the coast, everything on here would be pro-sealed and corrosion resistant material will be placed on here on all open threads to keep corrosion out. All right, I got one little spot down in here. There she is, there it is, wipe that down. This is my collective sleeve. There's a uniball on the inside here. This center right here, this bell crank will lift up when you pull up on the collective, which is next to the pilot. He'll lift it up and he'll transition a control, change the angle of attack on my leading edges. Provides lift. All right, let's move to another section. Yay, no one's fingers are going to get dirty. Yay. Rub my corrosion preventative program into my paint, make sure it stays. All right. Look inside my intake, make sure there's no critters living in there. Yeah, that's awesome. And while I'm here, I'll check my transmission oil filter bypass button. We call it the little red button. It is located right here. Every 300 hours, we take the oil filter out. We'll take this unit out, change the O-ring behind it to prevent it from leaking. And then we'll reassemble it and do a ground run to verify that I actually put the O-ring in. This little bad boy right here is what controls this actuator right here to open up a bypass door in case my filter gets dirty. This is the torque metering, and it's on this side of the fuse firewall, so that means this is the instrument for the torque indicator. Alright, time to move the ladder. He goes up, he comes down, he goes up, he goes down. Alright. Opening up the engine bay. Here we go. These little bad boys here. If you have a bell, this side here is where you'll change all your Zeus fasteners and all your latches will be on this side. So in here, this is called a Rolls-Royce family of 250 series. This is a Charlie 47 Bravo. It produces 680 shaft horsepower, and that's D-rated. And I think its max is like 720 or something like that. Shaft horsepower. This is a bleed valve. You want to make sure that this is safety, because they have a tendency to break a bolt and it'll work the way it's loose. The indicator of that, where you'll have a higher MGT, your pilot will come in and complain, there's no power. Yep. All right. So this oil I got drizzling everywhere. It's coming from up top. It's actually coming from here. So this is a controlled airflow to a labyrinth seal in the compressor. There is a orifice right here, and it controls this labyrinth seal and the front labyrinth seal. And the orifice is basically a little round tube, and it has a hole in it. And there's multiple sizes holes. And this leak I've pretty much had ever since I've gotten this aircraft. I've changed the orifice out before. You can take and hook up an instrument here and get yourself a pressure reading coming from here to here, and then you determine your size of the orifice you'll need. While I'm in here, I push on that, make sure the belt's attached. You want to grab it, make sure it's tight. This is the forward short shaft. Make sure your hardware is on there and they're not loose. This is a disc pack. It's basically a layer of metal. And what they do is they flex. It gives you your movement. See how there's a bubble there? Now it gives you your misalignment adjustment for in flight. So you want to make sure the back one, because these will flex quite a bit. And while you're in here looking at that, you want to look inside your pulley, make sure there's no metal flakes, colors changing of your oil or your grease there. If that's the case, this is backed off. This pulley here is backed off and it's become loose. Now you got to replace all of it. Fun times. So this is a CFA unit, combined engine fuel assembly, and what it has is this is fuel filter, and this is a oil filter, scavenge oil filter. It has a little red button right here, which is a bypass indicator, and the fuel has one right here. So every day you want to make sure that they're on. Now back in the day when they first installed these, you were allowed to reset it once, not no more. But it's all good. Going with the book tells me to do. So, and besides that, you don't know, there might be a problem. Big chunks of metal in there. You don't know. All right, so this is the torque indicator for the FADEC, which is what controls the engine when you start it up. There's a torque metering right here. You follow this line, it goes around. There's a little orifice there, and it sits on top of a piston, and the piston drives by oil pressure, and it gives you a measurement in percentage, and it'll indicate on the FADEC system what your torque indicated will be. So your first thing when you have an over torque is to verify the system is working. So you'll disconnect it here, hook up a Deadhead Tester, which is basically a manual oil pressure going into the transducer to ensure that it's actually functioning properly. And then you want to check the instrument at the same time. FADEC is set lower than what the instrument is, because they want, the engine company wants the engine to survive. So they have their parameters. The belt by themselves has the parameters. They're very close. They're only like 1 psi difference, maybe 2. It tells you in the book. Everything's in the book, nothing by memory. So right here we're lifting this up the back of the engine to make sure that this mount is attached. I'm gonna grab right here, make sure it's not loose. Right here and right here. You gotta be careful because around these hide cracks, so you gotta be careful. So you got a little foot pad there. This one right here where my finger is. Let's see if I can get it. And there we go. This is the lower chip detector. It is a self-sealing chip detector, so when if it was to pop out, fluid wouldn't pour out. It collects all the oil at the bottom of the gearbox. So all the freestanding oil, it drizzles down. So every 50 hours, we're pretty much pulling those out. Look at those two. This is a fuel nozzle. I only have one on this model. It goes in here, you go, what are all those washers for? That's a shimming, because this fuel nozzle goes on multiple aircraft, and they have different standards. This is called the burner can, outer combustion can, and then there's a burner liner on the inside, and your actual turbine starts here. You know, stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and then you have this box here is the collector, and that exhausts everything out. This is your compressor. Comes in, flows, goes along. So you want to look at all your cracks for all your weld lines for cracks, especially this patch. This is in the armpit. You want to make sure there's no bubbles, obvious leakage. It'd be a torch light event because it gets hot back here. All right, wiped up my excess oil. Nice. You know where that leak's coming from, so we'll go ahead and close this one up. This is a CIT probe, compressor inlet temperature probe. Yeah, you gotta be careful here. When you take the intake off, some people forget to take this out, and you'll bend it. And it's no good because you've removed the calibration out of it. Basically, you've broken the insides of the probe. All right. Making sure that I got my latches in place. So what we're going to do here is you can't tell. I need to get a new piece of plexiglass. Oh well. I know I'm low. So that's an oil cooler up there. What that does is a big giant fan. It's in line with your dry shaft and blows air, sucks air from here, comes through there, and blows it out here, which is basically a giant radiator. One half is engine oil, the other half is transmission. So now I'm going to check my engine oil. Which is low. Sorry, here we are. Oh, I need a quart of oil.